Hello, this is Moment of Truth, and today my name is Nadia Sean, and my co-host.
I'm David Jibodi.
And today we are talking about a wonderful subject, a subject that is very close and dear to my heart, and it is singlehood. And we really want to talk about it because we want to talk about what it means to be single. But we really want to talk about the reason why people feel certain way about singleness. So our goal is to really help you at the end of this program to understand that singlehood is a process in which when you are in, it's your relationship with God that matters the most. And so please stay with us as we talk about singlehood.
Thank you. So when we talk about singleness or singlehood, what comes to mind?
Well, so let's tell us, we will talk a little bit about ourselves and our singleness. For us, I think, for me in particular, I think of singlehood was a time in my life where I really enjoy my life. You know, marriage is wonderful, but single was a time where I feel connected to God the most. And I really want you to enjoy singlehood and really understand it's a process in which you have time. You really have time. If somebody tell you you are single and you don't have time, then you need to really assess your priority. But in my single, I really have time to build a relationship with God, and that really helped me a lot. And that is one thing we really want you to focus on. Spending your singleness, building a relationship with God, so that way you really learn how to worship God in your singleness.
Thank you. So when we talk about singleness, for me, what comes to mind, first of all, is being at an age when you're ready to settle down and have a family, be married, and you're not married at that time, then I consider that as singleness. So usually when we have churches have programs for singles, the people who go for singles programs are those who feel like they're ready to settle down, or they are at that age where they should be married. So I'll say that singleness has its blessings if we look at it the way we're supposed to look at it. Nobody is half.
No, nobody's half.
You are a full person, and then it is when you get married that you now have a better half. You become half, actually, when you get married.
That is the truth.
But before you're married, you're a full person. Yes.
Yep.
So singleness for me was the time when I could pursue all of my goals, knowing that at any moment in time, my life will change, and I'll not have all of the time that I had on my hands then. So during my singleness, I try to achieve as much as I can, knowing that there's a time coming soon when I'll not be able to do all of that. So going to school, volunteering with the community, being at church, doing all the things, going on trips, doing all the things that I wouldn't need anybody's permission to do. No baby crying, so I don't have to sit at home. So for me, singleness was that time when I could push myself to the limits because I didn't have to worry about any other person, but just me. So if I felt like, oh, I could let go of dinner, I won't eat tonight because I want to finish an assignment, I didn't have to worry about it.
True.
That was singleness for me.
So this is Moment of Truth, and we really want you to focus on what it means to be single. You know, the concept of being single can be very terrifying for some people. And we really want to address it in a way that you are comforted, that whenever you are in your single phase in your life, you are not alone. God is right there with you. And, you know, we talk about single, but sometimes you have to look at singles in the standpoint of some people got married and then they are divorced. Some people were married and then their husband or their wife died, so they are widow or widow. And then some people never got married, or some people are old in their years that they never really put in their mind to get single. But when we talk about singleness, we really want to talk about the state of mind. You know, when you think of yourself, do you think of yourself as single? And when you think of yourself as single, what is your concern? And where do you want to address that concern?
Yeah, so when I was growing up, my nanny was a single lady, but she never considered herself single because she had decided that she was going to be single. Like, she wasn't getting married. So she raised She was the nanny for even her own nephews and nieces, and she was my nanny too. And she was the sweetest person in the world. I don't know why she chose not to. It was her decision that she wasn't going to get married. And she wasn't a nun. She wasn't in a religious setting. It was just a choice. I don't know what brought up that choice. So she wouldn't consider herself single, although she was at the age where you could be married. So I think singleness also is a choice sometimes. Some people choose to be single, and I don't know whether they actually call themselves single or not. Some call themselves single, some do not. But sometimes it's a choice as well.
And that is important to understand, because I think when our society really can be very, very ungrateful. I think that's the word that I use for when they see you, they're like, oh, this person is single, because they label you. So in their labeling, you can look at it and feel trapped. But if your mind is set in where you are, then you should never be conformed to what society expects singleness to be. So in any stage in your life, you should be looking at what God expects of you. What is your purpose? What is your relationship with God? How is God motivating you to be better than where you are? So we are talking about moment of truth, and we really want you to assess yourself. Look at yourself and figure out, where am I? Are you happy with where you are? If you're not happy with it, what do you need to change? And if you're not changing, what is making you stay where you are? And if not, then we need to help you realize that singleness is not a bad thing.
It is not. And I'm thinking that, so in every stage of our lives, there are challenges.
Of course.
When you were a child, you had challenges. When you were a teenager, you had teenage issues. And when you're single, you have issues with singleness. When you're married, you have issues with marriage. When you have kids, you have issues about being a parent. So I think every stage has issues. Sometimes, though, we choose to forget, or people choose to forget, that singlehood also has its own issues.
Of course.
Just like every other has its issues. And so people begin to label. You talked about label. Let's think about some of the misconceptions and the labels that people place on single people. In some cultures, it's not as harsh as other cultures. So in cultures where people assume that as an individual, your worth depends on what kind of family you have raised, then the misconceptions and the labeling become more severe. And so people who really, maybe like my nanny, have no joy or no excitement or no goals of actually being married, because of the pressure from society, they might get married and not be happy all the rest of their lives.
True.
Just because they are running away from labels. So I think the first thing we should think about is we should not worry about labels, because in every stage there are labels.
Of course.
So don't worry about the labels, but rather think about the best you can be right now. For example, the label that maybe you're not a serious person.
That is true.
That is a label, but you know what? Your own lifestyle can make that label true or untrue.
Yes. And that is an important part about being single, is that with single, the title in which you find yourself is what you accept. Because you have to understand that anything that you accept becomes part of who you are. It becomes the way people see you. So if you are single and you know that you are hardworking, you know that you have a purpose, you have a goal in mind, and you know that your total focus on serving and worshiping God, then don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. Because the moment you claim the titles that people give you and you accept it, then you start acting certain ways. And we really want you to understand, in moments of truth, we really want to focus on your singlehood as a blessing, as an opportunity in which you are so close to God that people will understand and appreciate you for who you are, not what they can see or how society expects you to see. And when we are thinking of singlehood, I think one of the hardest things about singlehood is our family as a whole. You know, when you are single and you come from a big family, everybody will ask you the same question. When are you getting married? When are you getting married? So to the point where it become like a mantra. So
Yeah.
moment of truth, we are helping you understand that even if the question is being drummed in your head, don't let it be the one thing that you hear all the time. Remember who you are and remember who your creator is. And so if they ask you the question, don't be offended. They care. That is why they're asking the question. They are concerned. That is why they're asking the question. And you know, one of the things I always learn to do is be real with people. I give them the honest answer. I'm not looking, but if God bless me with the one that is my true love, I will know. So in that perspective, it gives the person two things. First, you are not looking, but second, your focus is on God. So put the focus where you want them to have it, your relationship with God. But if you don't put the focus on God and you put it on anything else, then they will start really harassing you and bringing people in your path that you really don't want to be in your path.
And then some people end up relocating because they are tired of the pressure. You know, they just want to hear something different.
Of course.
So if, let's say, they're in a community where everybody keeps asking the same questions, then they're like, okay, I'm relocating. And I think that is another trap of the devil, because people relocate into areas where people really do not know them. And then they lose the fellowship they have with people who know them.
Of course.
And then they have no friends. And then they start going into depression. So that is like reacting to the pressure instead of being proactive, you know, finding a solution. Relocating just because of pressure, I don't think is the best thing.
It is not the best thing. It's not the best thing. Sometimes, of course, relocation can be job prospects, but be real with yourself. And that is why we are talking about moment of truth. At any given stage in your life, you have to be real with yourself. And the most important aspect of yourself is your relationship with God. So if you can talk to God, you know, when I was single, one of the things I really love to do, and I still do it, is having a long, quiet times. You know, having the long walk along the beach with me and God. People always say, I want to walk with my sweetheart. No, no. Walk with God. And walking with God, you really understand that that is part of the first thing you do in understanding your singleness. Because in that singleness, you realize that, wow, if God is right there with me, if my relationship with God, it is utmost and perfect, then whenever somebody else is added or God adds somebody else into my life, then I'm able to also help that person to really enjoy that relationship with God. So you have to start with your relationship with God. And that is important.
We have a question here about,
okay.
We have a question here about challenges that single people face. First of all, I'd like to say that every single person faces those challenges. So let's look at some of those challenges. What would you say now? I think one of the challenges is like the pressure of too much questioning, and you're tired of answering the same question, and instead of being proactive, you decide to relocate. And then you have new challenges because you relocated, not well planned or well thought.
I think the second thing that I also want to talk about when it comes to single and the challenges is expectations. Unrealistic expectations. The hardest part about being single is not that you are single. It's because people have expectation of you that you yourself cannot even meet. So it is good to always talk to people. When you're talking to people, it's to be real. Because when you think about it, if somebody tells you, oh, because you're single, you have so much, you have time. And so they commit you to so many things that you are afraid to say yes or no to.
Sometimes they don't even say it like that. They don't say you're single, so you have a lot of time. But they just come to you to ask you to do things for them. Like 5 people asking you to babysit, 3 people asking you to do something else. And then, so that is a challenge. You feel like already they think single people, some of them are not friendly or some of them are rude. So you don't want to say no. So you want to accept every I don't know even what word to use.
Well, every opportunity to serve that comes your way, you want to accept it. And I think one of the challenges that I also see is that when we are part of the church, we do well at work. As singles, we do really well at work. But when it comes to our church community or when we come to the family, we tend to be wallpapers. We tend to hide our talent.
How is that? What causes that?
You know, I think first and foremost, we don't want to shine a spotlight on ourselves, because you feel like if we shine a spotlight on ourselves, the first people are going to ask you, who is she? You know, and then when they ask, oh, she's like, you feel like your singleness will be brought about, or will be
It'll be a
asked about.
topic.
Yes, will be a topic. So even when we are around family, we tend to stay behind. When we are at church, we tend to stay behind. We don't tend to stand on the spotlight. And that is where the enemy gets us also, because the enemy will attack your weakness. And so moment of truth, we're really talking about singled as a moment to worship God. And you cannot worship God if you let the enemy capture your mind and really hold it hostage. Because at any given moment, he will tell you, oh, you are not good enough. Oh, you see how everybody is doing this. Oh, you can't do this and you can't do that. And you listen to it so much that it becomes the life in which you are living in. Intimidated by even success. And we don't want you to be intimidated by success. In your singlehood, you can be so successful that that platform, God it will be using God will use your life to do great things.
I like the intimidation part. I think that sometimes when we are single, we intimidate ourselves. It's not people who intimidate us. We already know what we think people think about singles, and so we keep to ourselves, like you said, so nobody comes and tells me something that will annoy me, will upset me or something. So in that case, we are intimidating ourselves. We are thinking, oh, because I'm single, this person is thinking like this. We know what the misconceptions are, and we are assuming that people are thinking that about us.
That's
and
true.
So it makes us hold back. But for all you know, the holding back rather is what's making you prove that that misconception is right. Because right now we have a lot of single people. We have interacted with a lot of single people. And some are outgoing and some are not. But if you allow yourself to be intimidated because you think somebody is thinking something, and maybe the person is not even thinking like that, then you are trapping yourself.
That is so true. And those are the challenges that we really want to address. We really want you to see yourself for the gift that God has given you. You know, each individual is blessed with so many talents. And so even in your singlehood, you should be able to use that talent to glorify God. And don't say, oh, I'm waiting for Mrs. Right or Mr. Right in order for me to shine. You are shining already. You are called
you're bright.
to shine.
You're shining.
Yes, you are shining already. So please, please, I'm encouraging you to shine like the bright star in which you are called to be. And whenever the other person comes in your path, the other person will realize that you are his or a better half, because you're already being trained by God. And that is what we want you to understand, that you are being trained each and every day. God is training you. So you have to use this single as a training ground to be in perfection in the talent in which God has given you. And that is an important part.
So we like the question about challenges. You can also go to Facebook and send us a bit more of the challenges that single people face. What are other challenges that people face as singles? We will come back to that again, but also about the church. Do you think the church pays much attention to equipping singles in the church?
You know, it's so funny. So this morning I was thinking about it. And I was thinking about it in a way that I've never thought about it before. I've always appreciated where some churches have singles ministry. And then when it comes to our church, we have the youth and pension ministry. So I was thinking, do we need a single ministry? And the Spirit tells me, no, we don't need a single ministry. So I was like praying over it. I said, God, why we don't need a single ministry? Then I realized that we have women ministry and then we have men ministry. And in that ministry, you actually mature within the ministry. So you are not set in one stage in your life. You know, I feel like when you are set in one stage in your life, a singlehood is a transition. It is not one stage it's a mental process in which you need to grow. So if you think I'm going to be single for the rest of your life, then you are a woman or you are a man for the rest of your life, and you're a woman for the rest of your life. So single is just a process, that the state of mind in which you are in. So I really appreciate the fact that our church has women ministry and men ministry.
But when do you transition from youth ministry to women's ministry or men's ministry? Is there a clear-cut something?
I don't think it's a clear cut as much as people want a clear cut, but I think it's a growth process. You need to grow. Where do you see yourself? Because somebody could be 25 and they see themselves as a young adult, or somebody could be 30 and they see themselves as a youth. So where is it that I always consider, even by the time I was 18, I consider myself a woman already. I never consider myself youth. I've always seen myself the need to grow. My friends have always been older women that I want to learn from it. So I really want you to think about, in your singlehood, who are your mentors? Are your mentors other singles? Are your mentors women in the ministry, women in the faith that you want to gravitate towards because there's something in them that you want to learn. There's some characters in them that you want to develop, because you cannot say I'm going to be single for the rest of your life unless it's a choice. But if it's not a choice and you are growing, then you need to surround yourself with men and women that will help you to grow. And that is an important part.
I love that. And also, before I address that question about does the church pay much attention to equipping singles in the church, before I also attempt that question, what I want to say is that there is this misconception in the church that if you're not married, you're not welcome into the women's ministry. It's a misconception. It is, because when I was not married, like for the past 5 or 6, 7 years, I had deaconesses who invited me to the women's ministry. And at first I was like, that's supposed to be for the women. And she was like, and what are you? I said, I'm supposed to be in the youth ministry. And she said, who says that? You can be in both. You choose where you want to go. So after the first invitation, when I came, I saw that what we did really was fun and interesting. So after that, from time to time, I came. And I realized that the women in the women ministry, they were so excited to see us. Those of us who did not consider ourselves like that we deserved to be in the women's ministry, they received us so well that we saw that it was a misconception. So we kept coming to a women's ministry. So if you are out there and you also have that misconception that the only people welcome into the women's ministry meetings are married women, then I want to tell you it's a misconception. You can drop it right now and come to women's ministry anytime. The only thing they said was if you're above 18, you can come to women's ministry, because they don't want to discuss things, and because you are there, they don't want to say it or something. But if you're 18, you are considered an adult. Come to women's ministry. You're very welcome.
So not to just focus on the women. So the men ministry is also there for the men.
Right, come to men's. I haven't been to men's ministry though, so I can't talk for them. But I'm sure it's open. Just come. They are willing to be mentors to us. So make your way over there. And coming to the question about whether the church pays much attention to equipping singles, I'll start by saying that the church is you and I.
That's true.
So before we talk about what has happened ahead of us, whether we think the church pays much attention to equipping singles, I think that if we see something that we can do to help singles, we are also part of the church. We can bring it up and we can try to organize. That's why we said as singles, we have a lot of time and energy that we can use now that we might not be able to spare later on. So if we're talking about the church, yes, the church is you and I. So for now, if you see something that you can do to help singles, to equip singles, please, you're welcome. You can send us a message on Facebook. You can contact any of the elders or deacons or deaconesses or pastors with your views, or you can just go ahead and organize the singles to do something fun. Then back to the question, though. The question is, do you think the church pays much attention to equipping singles?
I think the church does, and I'm talking from a standpoint of youth and pencil leader. One of the things that I always feel like we as a church, as individual, when we come to an event, we come there with an attitude. So whenever you come somewhere with an attitude, you are not there to learn. You haven't opened yourself with the opportunity to really get some insight. So I'm encouraging you, moment of truth, whenever you come to an event, don't come with an expectation that, oh, it's not good enough. But if you can improve it, improve it. But if you are there, be there to share your joy, be there to share your ideas. You know, one of the things that I know we did in the past as our Pensa members is that we invite them once a month to come in. We have a prayer month. We do different things. But when we called the Pensa members, they didn't show up. You know, there will be 2 or 3 people that will show up. And then everybody said, I'm too busy, I'm working, I'm this. And I'm like, wow. So if your church is giving you opportunity, a platform to do something, please, please, I highly encourage you to take upon yourself and make it work. Because the church can extend an invitation. It is up to you to accept the invitation and make it work to your advantage. But if the church extends an invitation and you don't accept it and you only complained, then guess what? You are not being part of the solution. You are part of the problem. And that is a sad thing.
Okay. I think that the church has done some work to equip singles. But I think there's still a whole lot to do in terms of publicity. Sometimes the church is doing something but it's not publicized enough. So let's say if you're single in the church but you're not in Pensa and you don't really attend women's ministry, sometimes you might not get to know that anything is going on. So in terms of publicity, the church needs to do more to let us know when something is going on so that we can be part of it. Also, when it comes to, let's say, things dubbed as singles, for example, like some places, they could say a workshop for singles, this for singles, that for singles. I haven't heard that before. So that might make you think that the church is not doing much to equip singles. But thing is, sometimes when the church is doing a program and it says it's for women's ministry, the church is including everybody. So that's how come you feel like, because you have that misconception that women's ministry is only for married people, then you would think the church is doing something but it's not including you, it's not focusing on you. Or the church is doing something for men's ministry and you think that if you're not married, you're not supposed to be in the men's ministry, which nobody said. It's just our own
preconceived notion.
Yeah. So you would think that, so in that sense, we can say that, okay, the church hasn't done a whole lot of things that has been themed as singles workshop, singles dinner, singles outreach, singles trip. So the church hasn't done much with the name singles under it. But the church has done a whole lot in just training and equipping everyone. And what comes out, if we try to be part of everything that is going on, then yes. But if we are looking for something that has the singles title, then no. So it depends on where you're looking at the question. If you're asking because you're wondering if the church does enough with singles on it, then I'll say no. But if you're thinking about the things that the church does in general, does it equip singles enough, then I'll say yes. So it depends on where you stand.
That is so true. That is so true. You hit it right on the money.
Thank you.
You know, I feel 100% better. Because, because you know, I will come to an event and it's apostolization. And apostolization is for everybody. And then you come there, you don't see anybody. You're like, where is everybody? And then you come there and there's a prayer evangelizing. And you don't see anybody. You're like, where is everybody? Where are all the singles? So anytime the church is doing something, it is for everybody. You know, and I like the fact that we don't put a single title there. Because the moment we put single title there, then we're talking about isolation or separation or really defining
segmentation.
you. Yes. Or, you know, or desegregation. We are literally putting you in a box. And I think putting people in a box is sometimes handicapping people. And the church is doing such a phenomenal job not putting you in a box. Are you seeing yourself in that way? And this is a moment of truth. We really want you to see yourself that in any phase in your life, are you really seeing how God is using you, motivating you, and helping you to learn? Or are you trapping yourself in a little box and saying, this is my singlehood, so I'm trapped in this box. And because you're trapped in this box, you won't do anything until somebody leave the lead out. But I'm telling you that you are not in a box. You are free
The
to
church
give.
doesn't see you as single. The church sees you as a whole person.
Yes.
And anything they do. So, for example, if there's a church dinner, it might not be themed singles dinner, right? That means everybody should come, and then you get to meet everybody.
That's true.
Singles, married,
yes,
youth, everybody comes, you know. So I like that. Let's not try to segregate ourselves. Let's be part of everything. So yes, the church does a lot. It's just that it's not themed single. But maybe you can help us by doing a few more things that you call single. Nobody will say don't call it that.
No.
You can make it a single walk, so all the singles will come and you have a health walk or something. Bring some life to it. If there's something you want to do, you want to organize the singles to do something, you're really welcome to do it.
And, you know, we're talking about inclusive. You know, one of the things that somebody once asked me not too long ago was talking about even a baby shower. And he was saying, oh, in the baby shower, we don't see a lot of singles, a lot of single women coming to the baby shower. And I know the first thing people said, why would they come? But guess what? That is an opportunity to serve. So you coming there doesn't mean that anything but opportunity to learn and also be part of the group.
So be part of the community.
Be part of the community.
Because when we have outdooring, we don't expect just married people to come.
No.
We expect the whole church,
the whole community to come.
The only thing is bridal shower. Somebody asked me, bridal shower, are we supposed to come? I said, if you want to go, you can go. Nobody will sack you if you get there.
No. And that's the thing.
And that was a man, though. He was asking, bridal shower, is it for men or women? I'm like, whoever shows up, shows up.
Whoever shows up. In our society today, it's inclusive. You can exclude yourself, but we really want you to understand this is a moment of truth. And we are talking about include yourself in the things of your community. As single, don't isolate yourself, because when you isolate yourself, it's where the devil really attack you. He attack your and diminish your creativity and diminish your ability to serve God, because it makes you feel like you are less of a person, and that's where the half becomes a problem in your mind. Oh, I am only half a person. No. You are never half a person. God
you become half when you're married.
Yes, you become half when you're married, but you are a whole person. And your wholeness, you have an opportunity to serve God in so many ways. So we are back again to talking about what are some of the things that we can do in our single life that will make us be better than anything else we see in this world. What are some of the things that we can do in our single life?
So I think as a single, one of the things we can do is pay attention to our health. We want to be as healthy as possible, so we check our eating, we check our diets, we go for checkups, we do things that will keep us healthy. I think that's one area we should look at. Another area we should look at is healthy finances. So this is a time when you can do double and triple sometimes, you know, and this is a time when you can save. You don't have to buy diapers or stuff like that.
That's true.
So this is time that we can save instead of buying too much. It's also time when we can buy a few important things.
Of course.
So we are not just saving money, but like we are even buying things that we might need that are timeless. For example, if you buy shoes, shoes are not timeless.
Of course not.
That's not one of those things. But I remember back in Ghana when I first started working, my mom would be like, oh, I think this month you should think about buying a fridge. And I'll be like, no, I'm buying malt. And I'll buy crates of malt and just bring it home and say, everybody, let's enjoy, which is good. But those were things that like you could invest into, you know, buying utensils, buying things that you will need when you move into your own place. Yeah. So those are a few things that we should invest into. A big area to invest into will be our career.
Of course.
Taking courses or doing things that will advance our careers, volunteering in places that will advance our careers. Anything that will advance our careers, I think, is another thing to be doing. Well, I think about some more. What do you think?
So you have hit on a couple of stops. I think one of the things that I really, really want us to focus on as singles, not only just on our finances, but on looking at our long-term investment. You know, one of the things that I know both of us did when we were single was bought ourselves a house. You know, most people will be like, why buy a house while you are still single? And I told them the same thing that I would tell you. If you buy a small house now, we all bought a townhouse. And if we end up marrying and we end up buying a bigger, or we end up making more money, we'll buy a bigger house. But at least you invest your money. So if you have been able, or God has blessed you with opportunity, and that's what it is, an opportunity. I always say opportunity comes disguised as hard work.
Yeah.
And when the hard work comes in and you are lazy, so I'm encouraging you, moment your child, do not be lazy. Do not be lazy in your investment. Do not be lazy in your resources. Do not be lazy in, in how you plan your future. So when opportunity comes for you to invest in a house, please do it. When opportunity comes to buy a better car, please do it. Don't say I'm single, so I'm going to be using a rundown car. I'm going to be driving a beat up car and spending a lot of money fixing that car. You know, so if you're single and you have saved your money on a down payment on a nice car, please, you also deserve a nice car. And if the naysayers saying that, oh, she's single and she's driving a nice car, say it's because of the blessings of God. And God definitely do bless us with great things.
He does. I think another thing that we should think about as singles is our family. Like, how are we impacting the family? We want to leave the family better off than they were without us, right? So as single, you should be looking also at how you're taking care of, especially your parents, because when you get married, by the time you get married, they'll even be older and they'll need more support. So if you practice supporting them now, then when you're married, you have already fallen into the habit, and so it will not be too difficult to try and support them. If at the time that you can support them, you can spare some change to support them, you're not doing it, then when things become a bit tougher, you will really not think about it. And that's really, really evil. The Bible says that those who do not take care of their own family members, God sees them as evil, as wicked. So think about how you can bless your parents, because then your life will be longer. And your own children will also see how you bless your parents. And that's the same way they're going to treat you.
Of course.
So I think as single, learning how to balance our finances so that we can be a blessing, especially to our parents, is a good thing. And then our nephews and nieces, from time to time, we should be able to bless them too. That's building family connections, because these are the same people who will be there for you in the future when you need them, who will be there for your own children when you need them. So you should be able to see the needs of others and help, plan to help. It's not like you're just throwing the money everywhere, but you're planning how you can help, and you're helping them so their lives get better, so they can help themselves. So for example, if you have nephews and nieces and all they're thinking about is buying branded shoes, I don't think you should worry about that. But if they're going to school and they're hard up with cash, and you can help support them with their fees, or you can help them connect with some volunteer center, you can help them, you know, things like that. Don't just close your eyes and let everybody be. Whatever you can do to help the family, I think it's very important.
And that is important. I think one of the things I also want to stress is giving. You know, one of the hardest part about maturity is learning to serve the kingdom with your resources. You know, as singles, we have the resources and we have the time, but we have not learned to give. You know, and God always said, test me and see. So when it comes to tithes and offering, when it comes to giving, you have to test God and see. If there's something that is in your life that you want God to do, offer it to God. You know, they say our life is a living testimony. Our life is an offering. So if you have the resources to test God, test God. If you're working, you know, one of the things that I always tell people, you know, giving 1/10 of your income to God is part of your commitment in your relationship with God. But really giving an offering, that goes the extra mile. That really goes the extra mile to challenge your relationship with God. So I encourage you, singles, give your tithes, but also offer. Whenever opportunity comes to offer to God, don't be stingy. Don't be sitting back and saying, oh, that will be the money I'm going to use to buy a new pair of shoes, a new pair of bags, some nice outfit. Those are all nice things. But I really want you to grow in your offering. So by the time you are married, I'm telling you, it will be second nature to you. But if you have not learned to offer to God, to sacrifice and give, when the time comes and you are married, it will be a huge challenge to you?
There are a whole lot of questions. I don't know how many we'll be able to go through, but about giving too, it's a good thing you mentioned it. It's what, as singles, what we give is what we receive. It's not different. Bible says what you give is you receive it back in many folds, right? So if you give out smiles, you get back smiles. You give out frowns, you get back frowns. It doesn't change just because we are single, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes we forget about that. We think that giving is just money, but giving of your life, giving of joy to others, giving whatever we give, we receive it back. So just going back to now, how you talked about the baby shower and the outdooring. So if now you're single, you don't attend anybody's baby shower, you are not happy for anybody, then when your time comes, do you expect others to be happy for you?
That is so true.
So what you give is what you get. Mm-hmm. So let's get into the habit of giving whatever we want back.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And it's definitely important when we think of our growth and our maturity. You learn so much whenever you are included in the network of women. One of the things that I really learned right away is that the women are you in a few years. Whatever they are, it could be the women in their 40s, it could be in their 50s, in their 60s, whatever age they are, you pray that God will allow you to be there in a couple of years. So please include yourself. If you are men, also include yourself in the men ministry. The church has so much to give you, but what are you also giving back to the church? Are you making sure that your act of worship is acceptable to God? And that is one of the things that we really wanted to talk about in your singlehood. Is your art of worship acceptable to God? Or are you looking at other people and say, oh, so and so haven't done this, so I'm not going to do that? And that is the sad part, because sometimes we finger point on people's shortcoming, that we forget that we are also...
We complain about other people's speck in their eyes, and we have logs in ours.
That is so true. And so this is Moment of Truth, and we really want to focus on your singlehood as a heart of worship. In your life, what are you doing to serve God? How are you being such a role model that other people in the outside will want to emulate you and want to look at you and say, wow, she is such a happy woman, she's such a happy man, that I would like to get to know this God that this person is worshiping.
Exactly.
So we're talking about singlehood, we're talking about our life, and what are some of the things that we want to do. I think one of the things we really want to talk about also is, how do we see ourselves when we think about our life? Do we see ourselves as people that are growing, or do we see ourselves as people that are already on the sideline? Because in a single, you can see yourself in two different directions. Are you moving towards a goal in your life, or are you waiting for something to happen in order for you to react? So how do you see yourself? And that is an important aspect.
It is. Please tell us on Facebook how you see yourself. There are so many questions that we need to answer, but if we even do not answer it, we still have singlehood next week by this time. So you still need to join us so we can finish with the other questions. In the meantime, now, do you have any other things? There are questions about what singles shouldn't be doing, whether it's good to be single or not, and why.
Okay.
Is there anything you want to hit upon?
Yes, so I want to hit upon what singles should not be doing. And I think it's important as single not to isolate yourself. The season is coming up. We're going to have Thanksgiving next month. We're going to have Christmas. That is a season where it's so festive that everybody is having so many activities. And you can come back to the fact that they are having activity and they don't label as single. So then you want to isolate yourself. You want to sit in your room. You want to feel bad for yourself. And then that's when you get depressed.
Yes.
So
let's kill that depression, people.
Yes. So we really want you to understand, in this season of your singlehood, remember that it is the state in which you are doing so much that you don't even have time for you to feel sorry for yourself. It is not a state for you to feel sorry for yourself. And that's one of the things I really want you to appreciate. It is a state for you to enjoy. I will personally say that I have no regret being single. When I was single, I had no regrets.
You used your time well.
You
enjoyed it. And now you're not sad. Sometimes you can look back on your life and wish wish you could change some things, wish that's normal, but it shouldn't be like you feel so sad that you have wasted your time away. Now you wish you had done this, you wish you had done that. And I'm sure there are some married people who will tell you that now that they're married, they wish they had done this differently, they wish they had done that differently, you know. So the encouragement is live your life to the fullest.
Yes.
Go out there and do what you have to do. Don't just sit and wait and say you're waiting for this season to pass. You don't want to waste this season.
No.
Use it, and so when it passes, whatever other season you're in, you can use that too.
That is so true. That is so true. We can go on and on and on, and we just really want you to just put a plug in your mind, like make a commitment to yourself that the season in which you are in, you're going to worship God with your life, your total commitment. You're surrounding everything to God. And when you do that, God will truly bless your life. And that is what we want you to understand, that God is willing and able to use at any stage in your life. And in your singlehood, we want you to use it to glorify God.
Amen.
Yes. So we are going to be talking about a couple of things that are going on this weekend.
For everybody.
For everybody, for everybody. So the church is having, the Church of Pentecost U.S. Inc., Washington region, is having the enrichment event, which is the 2018 enrichment event. It's called Soul Health Education, Career Finances, Entrepreneurship, and Volunteer Services. And the theme of it is Prosper in All Things. And it's taken from 3 John chapter 2. So is this October 13th, and it's at the Apostle Bediako Memorial Temple. The address is 15421 Old Columbia Pike, Bettonsville, Maryland, and it's from 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. So everybody is welcome. So it's for everybody. Everybody is welcome to be part of it, and we really encourage you to come. Come and learn about career. Come and learn about your health. Come and learn about volunteer. Come and learn about entrepreneurship. We really want you to be there and be blessed. And of course, the next day is Sunday, and they will also be able to come in and be part of the church. And we are part of Church of Pentecost, and we really want to give our great thanks to our leadership, our apostle, our apostles from the national head, and our apostle from our regional apostle, a seminar from the regional apostle, Amwaku from our national head, and of course we want to talk about Pastor Evis Boatin and the family, and of course our technical group. We are definitely blessed with such a wonderful technical group, and we really want you to come and enjoy it. And any question that you have, you can really reach us on Facebook and also YouTube. We are here on this platform for everybody, and this is Moment of Truth. Of course.
acote1@gmail.com. acote1@gmail.com. If you want to send us an email. Thank you so very much. We look forward to spending next week with you as well. Relax, enjoy. Singleness is fun. It's a blessing.
It is definitely a blessing.
You pass through it.
Yes, it is definitely a blessing, and we really thank you for everything. Until next week, thank you.